It is Wednesday. RawMikeRichards.com. Broadcasting live from the DKI studios in downtown Toronto. 234 King Street East out of the Pacific Junction Hotel. Coming up today, if you are, what do you call it, a gearhead?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, you're a gearhead. The Honda Indy, formerly to a lot of people in this area known as the Molson Indy, but the Honda Indy takes place. And in the Indy Lights, we're going to have Canadian Parker Thompson, actually out of Red Deer. Parker! That was a little loud, I'm finding.
Jonah Jameson for you.
He is Mazda. They've got his drive, so that's pretty cool. And so we'll talk to him on what it's like, what the attempt is, because that's a world, Dave, that I do not know.
No.
We've had guys on before.
Although the marshal in yesterday's tournament may have been part of an Indy race in the past of how fast he was.
Some of those guys would have been around before cars were invented. Just sign here. Why? Why do I? What am I signing for? Did you have to sign something?
Oh, yeah.
What were we signing?
If we break the card, or if, I don't know, we push Yard Dog off the card and he breaks his leg. Or...
Well, there was some excitement with carts falling off. We'll get to that. We'll also talk to Jay Barker. His son Aiden is the reason that tournament exists. Aiden's drive to eliminate epilepsy. Our good friend Gary as well was there, and of course we'll talk all about it and the success they had yesterday in raising over $100,000. Okay, I'm not going to make this. Yeah, trust me. The show will be fast, but not that fast. So yesterday, for those of you who haven't seen it, we had to put the show up as we could not stream live, so it was put together later on. We'll have a couple of promos that go with it, but up at the beautiful Hockley Valley, and it's always a very special day for Dave and myself. And I would just say that probably was a little more emotional for us this year because it just was amplified that much, and each and every year it just gets bigger, and including those that have come aboard with Epilepsy Canada. So it's close to our hearts. We got to meet Aiden for the first time yesterday, 4 years old. And if you watch the video and just what Jay and his family have to go through on a daily basis, it is staggering, and it is hard, it is difficult. It is not an easy journey, but yet they do it. And so we'll talk to Jay in, about 5 minutes here.
Yep.
Catch up with him. As I mentioned, Parker Thompson out of Pro Mazda. And so he'll be in the Honda Indy and some pretty cool footage of what he actually does for a living and the places he goes. So this is obviously a huge one, as you know, Dave. Well, when you lived King Street area,
yes,
you must have heard that like they were in your
backyard.
Yeah. Because you can literally hear them outside of the city. You can hear the whir, that high-pitched whir. It is... I think it's still a significant race in that series, but in Toronto, it really, back in the mid to late 80s, I guess, it really became like a spectacle. It was huge when it came here for the first time.
Yeah, it really was. And you know what? There's still people that, are still, that's their summer thing. Everybody talks about their summer event. You go here, you go to the Danforth for the taste of the Danforth. You go to
the
Wonderland.
Taste of Scotland.
Exactly. You do this, you do that. You have that favorite golf tournament, like the one we did yesterday, the one we did the year before, and hopefully the one we do next year. There's always that event, and on this calendar, there are thousands of people in this area and people that travel to this area that want to see this race. Just like in June, a lot of people, a lot of motor enthusiasts will go to Montreal to see the F1 race.
Yeah, hugely. Yeah, it's massive.
It's one of those, circle the calendar. This is what we're doing on this weekend. So, I look forward to these. These are a lot of fun. I know a lot of people sit there and complain about road closures, but you know what? This city closed down roads for carnivals and for marathons and for walkathons and for dogathons, so they may as well close this down too, because this is actually a pretty fun weekend.
A world-class event. Yes. It is. It's a world-class event. Just before we get to Jay, once again, here's something that I found from one of the earlier. It was the Molson Indy. It was called the Molson Indy, and that's what it was known as. Dave, this goes back to 1987.
Okay.
So this was still, you saw like a lot of cigarette ads. You saw a lot of stuff that I don't even know if you can show these things anymore. It's done by NBC Sports. So if it's racing on NBC, I think you could guess who the color guy was of that time.
Okay.
But the guy that's interviewing those in the pit,
we'll never guess.
There's no way, because when I saw this, I had to look at it twice, and now it's even stranger to see it. But here we go. It's 1987, the then Molson Indy. You're going to listen to a lot of the great names that were racing at that time. You're going to hear a massive color commentator and then a surprised in-the-pit reporter that I just didn't really realize did that. So this is what, property of, back then, what was it, the kart series? I don't know. We don't own it. You do, but take a look.
Can have the older car when we come to the Michigan 500. Well, Sullivan's doing very well with it at the moment. Sullivan runs in third place. There's the second place car, and that is Bobby Rahal. And he's now closing down behind Roberto Guerrero as he attempts to lap him. This car is the leader. That's Emerson Fittipaldi.
Emerson Fittipaldi certainly has done a very good job. He's also been awakened to the fact that Bobby Rahal was making a bit of a charge on him. Rahal got to about 6.25 seconds. He's opened up the gap now, Fittipaldi, to 7.3.
So this is classic in many ways.
So it does seem that he
But watch who's in the pit.
I have been critical about the way he's used the race car, but on the other hand, he's been able to use this track to his best advantage, and if he's going to win the race, well, we've got to applaud him for that.
All right, so Emerson Fittipaldi now closing up behind Michael Andretti, who runs 8th. Let's go to Bruce Jenner, who is with Steve Horn.
Thank you, Paul. And Steve, when Bobby came in, you obviously got on the headset and told him about the water, so he wasn't...
How weird does this look now? And look what's in between them. CN Tower.
I don't think he realized how much water was there. And
weird imagery, I'd say, right? You know what I mean?
Yep.
I was going to say, you started off probably about 12 seconds behind. You've got it now.
Yeah, the biggest phallic symbol in the world in between him and Bruce Jenner.
No, this is still a lot of racing.
What?
Well, it's one thing to catch up, but it's another thing to pass. I think we can get up to him. Whether we can get by him, that's another thing.
All right. Well, good luck to you guys. Paul?
Okay, Bruce Jenner.
Isn't that crazy now looking at it?
Okay, Bruce Jenner. Calls him by his first line. Thanks, Bruce. Nope, Bruce Jenner.
Bruce Jenner. He was one of the world's most well-known human beings.
Brewster.
Like if we're looking, and that's why, when my son said, when Caitlin comes out in the what was it, the ESPN thing, he said, so because they've seen this transformation depending on your age group, it wasn't really that surprising. I never watched the Kardashians, so I didn't know what he was doing. But I said, okay, the equivalent is LeBron James in 20 years walking on as a woman.
Yep, that's fair. Yeah,
I don't know what the equivalent would be for that age group.
Absolutely. It'd totally be. You watch LeBron do what he does here in the NBA for his 15, 20 years of service and everything, the announcement and the moves and the rings and the 8 consecutive finals, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, LeBron's name is Laura.
Yeah, LaQuisha. That's how weird it is for this generation. I got to tell you, but I had no idea. Like, he did a lot of broadcasting.
Oh, sure.
He was in a lot of shows too, acting, you name it. He did a lot of stuff, but didn't realize they had brought him in. But see, he was a talented guy. He really could do everything.
Literally.
Hello, is Mariah there, please?
Even if she was, I would not be putting her on the line.
Jay, buddy, I got to tell you, last night and yesterday was absolutely perfect once again. It was fun and emotional. There's a lot of things that we go through. That's for us on that singular day. For you, it is a year of incredible hard work. But when you see it pay off like that, Jay, I'm just curious. Do we more or less have a total on what was raised yesterday?
Yeah, so last year in our first year we did 81,000. We were able to raise 81,000, and I just got the numbers about an hour ago as they were counting all night long, and we were able to raise 121,000 yesterday.
Outstanding.
That is
Outstanding.
Unbelievable, Jay. That is, boy, I'll tell you. And you know what? Everyone had a fabulous time. The people there are amazing. But what I think is interesting, since you've started this, and we've known each other now just about a year and a half, I would say, that you can see that a lot of people are kind of jumping on this train. The number of people who have joined of significance, Epilepsy Canada as a whole, there was 2 or 3 of those guys last night. It seems like the word is getting out there and people want to help out. And for you, that's got to mean a lot.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the sponsors that we have had from year one into year two has been phenomenal, and we're hoping that we will get even more next year. The support from all of our donors year after year, and amazing people such as yourselves helping to push the event, the importance of getting research to find a cure, and being there, being here with us, really to MC the night and be able to talk to your entire audience and let them know how important this is for us to find a cure for this dreaded disorder.
Yeah, absolutely, Jay. And thank you again for the invite. We will say yes for as long as you keep asking. And, I know that, the fight continues even on this Wednesday for you. But you from the golf standpoint, I guess there's probably some relief in on your shoulders, considering that you don't have to necessarily worry about the golf tournament right now, and it takes the pressure off. But, day to day, the fight continues, doesn't it?
Absolutely. We still have not been able to control my son's seizures, so the fight goes on day to day, and we live with it each and every day and each and every night. But I will not stop pushing until we find that cure. I might take a week off. I might take 2 weeks off, but no more than that. And it's right back at the grind, speaking to sponsors, telling them the progress that we are making with the hard-earned money that they are bringing to our event, and just keep on pushing and pushing and pushing until we can find that cure. It is so important. There are so many Canadians that live with this, including my son, and we just have to find a cure.
Well, Jay, the reality is you don't get to take a break or some time off because Aiden doesn't get a break or time off from epilepsy, and that's the reality of it. I mean,
exactly.
But it was wonderful seeing him yesterday, and the family, your mom, your aunt. I mean, it was. I truly. I mean, we loved last year, but this year was just spectacular.
Absolutely, and thank you guys again. It was really wonderful having you there. It was. I really wanted to get Aiden out to the first year, but he was still too little, and I was still even very hesitant to get him out there. But I thought it was really important for everybody to get the opportunity to see him and meet him and meet my family and the extended family, because it just goes to all of the hard work and dedication that everybody is putting forward to this cause to help us to get to that point.
Now, next year is also at Hockley Valley, is it not? Have we decided?
100%.
Okay, great.
100%.
Boy, I'll tell you that place is just. I mean, it's 2 years in a row, and it just is such a beautiful day. We had such a wonderful time. Unfortunately, Team Richards, Team Coach Frank, Team Yard Dog, and Team Dave Bastel, we lost by one stroke to 4 pros. Apparently, those guys were 4 pros that got together. We lost by 1 stroke.
Yeah, there was actually a team of people at Golf Town, one of our good sponsors this year, and we're hoping to see more from them next year. But you guys put in a really good effort.
Very
proud of you.
Yeah, they don't need to be in it. I mean, they can help out, but they just don't need to be in it next year.
I was going to say, if the Golf Town really wants to help out, maybe they should buy 2 teams and have 2 pros on both teams with 2 customers off the street that we get to pick.
Yeah, they can take Yard Dog. They got to play with Yard Dog. We did.
Absolutely, boys. I'll see what I can do for next year.
Well, congratulations. I realize it's got to be a huge relief, as Dave just said, because there is so much work that goes into it. But the reality is it's so worthwhile. It is a fight that will continue. I know you're certainly never going to stop. And as I said, we are just flattered that we're a part of this. But anything you need, buddy, you get it from us. Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to have you guys back next year. The work starts now. We're actually with the team. We're still up here at the resort. We're actually in a meeting right now, debriefing from yesterday's event and how we're going to move forward to next year. So thank you guys so much for all of your support. It's been amazing. Thanks, Jay. You take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Take care, boys.
That is Jay Barker. He is what would say what's the word I want to say?
The czar.
The czar.
The czar.
The czar of Aiden's world.
Now he's everything. Like I joked to him last night, and I said, you know what? Huge congratulations to you and your minions. And it's like, and it's not meaning anything. That's what I say about my family, me and my minions. It honestly is. It takes a village, but it also needs a leader. And Jay Barker is an outstanding leader, easy to talk to, friendly as hell. He probably shook all 200 people's hands in that room yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
He's obviously getting more media savvy, too, since we've met him. And you know what? Year 3 is going to be better than 2, just like 2 was better than 1. And I think realistically, you know, is $150,000 out of the question next year? I know it's a lofty goal, and you keep on going up, but
I think they'll get it.
I wouldn't put it by him. I wouldn't put it by him.
You know, a lot of our listeners and viewers of Raw Mike Richards and those who've been part of the Richards Army said, well, next year we want to help out. We want to do something. So you just never know what you can come up with based on this tournament, and it doesn't necessarily like just playing golf. There's other ways to essentially just donate the money if you want. So I think they'll do better. Now, have we shown the picture of that foursome yesterday? Because that was quite a group there. There's, of course, myself and Dave. That is Yard Dog, who is kind of hiding in the background.
Yep.
He was shamed by his own golf techniques.
And should be. It's funny because right beside each other on the left-hand side, you have the best golfer of the group, Coach Frank.
Coach Frank was unbelievable.
And the worst golfer of the group, Yard Dog.
Yes. I believe he was the worst golfer
ever
in the world.
In the world, yes. I think that's fair.
I heard this morning that the Royal and Ancient and the PGA are now canceling the sport. So no one has to ever see that again.
But honestly, great playing partners, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, Coach Frank was outstanding. He's a close friend of ours. And Yard Dog has been in our camp since the moment Dave and I started doing shows. So, and the cigars he had, oh my God, they were so good. Oh my God, they were really, really good. So we had a great day, and we'll certainly tweet that out as well today. But thanks very much, fellas, for joining us. We appreciate it. You're watching Raw Mike Richards, either on the dedicated YouTube channel or, of course, right as people seem to continue to subscribe to rawmikeRichards.com, which allows you to get into a lot of the giveaways, a lot of the contests that we do. I think you saw some of the blade tape stuff, including the one behind me. That's the DKI. But there also is a Raw Mike Richards one that is purely for that. And at Christmas time, Ted Nesbitt was giving that stuff out for free. Hockey teams were getting this stuff. I mean, it's amazing what we were able to do, and we'll do more of it. If you want to be a part of it, make sure just go to rawmikeRichards.com and hit subscribe. We also like to see you continue subscribing to the YouTube channel, which we appreciate. So just hit that subscribe right there down at the bottom wherever that is, and you're in, and you get all the promos. Some of the stuff that are more isolated that you want to see, we also put that out during the day, and of course it exists right there on Raw Mike Richards, the YouTube channel. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some of the work of Parker Thompson as the Honda Indy approaches it. It's a massive event here in Toronto, but really in Canada, as Dave said, you know, it is one of those things that if that's what you like to watch, if that's a big thing for your summer, that's why they get in the tens and tens and tens of thousands to watch this. This is Indy Lights. And so I think we're going to look at Parker's work. This is when he was down in Alabama, I want to say. So this is a race in Alabama. He's kind of showing us a little bit of his car and some of the features on it and just kind of how it looks. He's a very easygoing guy. He's Canadian. His ride is Mazda. He is at Pro Mazda, which is pretty cool. Not always easy to get a ride. So Parker Thompson going to join us in studio after we see some of his work, including the work down in Alabama.
First off here, we've got the Minion, which is an exclusive Autosport special. Essentially, we got it out of a cereal box, but it plays great music. And one of our favorite tunes this weekend is Sweet Home Alabama, so we will be playing that quite a bit out of our little Minion friend here. I'm going to go ahead and get in the trusty steed. She's a good girl. She was on pole in St. Petersburg, and we'll be looking to do the same here in Alabama. Now, as I get in, you're going to notice some weird things, first and foremost. If you can hand me my steering wheel there, Tony, that would be much appreciated. Okay, and I'm going to just, oh, that's upside down, but okay. That's why you're the interviewer and I'm the driver. Okay, so I'm in my car right now. I'm just going to leave this right here. Essentially, I've got a track map, I got my steering wheel, but you're going to notice that here in Alabama, we do have an Alabama special. My favorite movie is Talladega Nights, and Ricky Bobby sold Fig Newtons on the front of his windshield, so this weekend I sold Open Highway on my windscreen. So this sticker may be dangerous and inconvenient, But darn, I do love open highway.
There it is right there. That is the work of Parker Thompson, who joins us now in studio, including, get a load of that cool helmet. That is just...
So is that the one you actually use in the car, or is this just a replica?
Nope. This is
show the fans kind of
the
thing?
real one.
It is,
Yeah, so don't drop it.
No.
Do you take it to the bars to get the girls? Because I know I would.
No, you know what? I'm not James Hunt. I'm pretty low-key on the race weekends.
Well, thanks so much for coming in. And a Red Deer boy.
Yes.
Oh, I like that. They got way too many stoplights on that when you're coming down, was it 2? It drives me nuts downtown. I hate the stoplights.
Well, they're changing it, hopefully.
Oh, are they?
Hopefully.
Not that you care about stoplights. So you go right through stoplights like you don't care, right?
No, I obey the rules. I'm actually, all my friends make fun of me. I'm a pretty safe driver.
Well, you know what? I think most of you guys that are professional drivers are like the safest drivers. It's not the reckless.
Driving Miss Daisy or what? Really?
Yeah.
Oh no,
speed limits, really?
Speed limits and all.
That's
well,
amazing.
you were with Distracted Driving, an advocate. So Drive to Stay Alive. How did that come about?
So interesting enough, when I was in grade 10, I had a really dear friend get involved in a bad accident, texting and driving. First day she had her license.
Oh God.
And it was pretty well at that point I said something needs to be done about texting and driving, especially in Alberta. We're a pretty bad province for it. And I looked up texting and driving, and there was really no campaigns to stop it. There's no national campaign. So I thought, why not at least start talking to high schools and see where it went? And then all of a sudden, 3 years later, I'm doing a national tour. So that's kind of how it started. I think it's impactful when you've got a high school student themselves talking about distracted driving to other peers. And that's kind of how I got started in this.
But you bring up a point too. I never thought about this. If let's say it's Highway 2, and let's say you're going anywhere between, let's say, Edmonton south, all the way to Lethbridge, where how far, there's a lot of flat driving. There's a lot of nothingness. That temptation, probably to be on that phone, is got to be maybe massive, one of the worst.
For sure.
Yeah, like I never really thought about. Look, if you're going through the mountains, going towards Banff, you're kind of paying attention.
Yes.
But there's a lot of downtime the other way, and going, of course,
just
through
like the
Saskatchewan and Manitoba
through Saskatchewan, same sort of thing.
I never thought of that.
Yeah,
that's true.
You're watching the same thing for 16 consecutive hours.
Yes.
So I'm a Manitoba guy.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, then you understand.
Yeah. So let's talk about. Let's go back. Parker Thompson, you go to high school in Red Deer.
Yes.
And at the same time, like, is your father in the business of driving, or is this just something that you're all of a sudden you just said, I want to do this?
No, it's kind of funny. So we'll take it all the way back to 5-year-old Parker.
Hmm.
So 5-year-old Parker was watching his dad race actually jet boats. So in Alberta, we've got a lot of rivers. A lot of guys race jet boats. So I watched my dad race, and he was quite successful with it. I mean, the biggest thing for me was I wanted to be involved in racing. So my dad got me a dirt bike at the age of 5. At the age of 5.5, my mom said, "No, we're not racing dirt bikes. My son is too important to me." So we sold the dirt bike, and we got a cart for the age of 8. My 8th birthday was a go-kart.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool for 8 years old.
It is pretty cool.
Pretty cool for any age.
Yeah,
really cool. Now, the only go-kart track, worth really racing at that time was in Calgary, Race City.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I lived in Red Deer, so every weekend it was kind of a pastime. My dad and I would take the family half-ton. We'd drive up, race our go-kart on the weekends, drive back. It started out as just a hobby, but within a couple years it turned from a hobby to pretty serious.
Like, a lot of people may want to do it, and a lot of kids, let's say they get a go-kart and they're going to Race City in Calgary, but that doesn't mean you're good enough to get to where you are. So something has happened between then and now where someone has said to you, or you've been approached, or in that organization, that you're actually good enough to do this, because not everyone is.
For sure. And it's funny, I actually I just got done a high school commencement speech about 2 weeks ago back in Red Deer, and they asked me to talk about, dreams and aspirations. And it's funny looking back at my career. As soon as I got out of that cart the very first time, I knew that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And that's, in the business of racing, it's a tough business to make it professionally. Right. You have to, find a lot of money.
So you're a Mazda guy?
Yes. Well, so Mazda sponsors the entire series.
Okay, I got you. Okay, yeah. So, when individually, like, one of the toughest things that I always hear from guys, even substantial names, is, trying to find a ride.
I know. I mean, look at guys that don't have rides, or even you look at Tony Kanaan a couple years ago. He was He lost his ride from Ganassi, you know, and he's a pretty well-known name in IndyCar. So money, at the end of the day, it unfortunately doesn't even matter how good you are. You still have to be marketable.
So you're going to sell, because this is the thing, and I'm sure, Dave, this will strike you about Parker we've not met beforehand, but you're very affable. You're very verbal. You're very very likable, very approachable. There's an energy to you, which is awesome, which in some guys, they don't always have it. But, you know, I think of guys like, you know, James Hinchcliffe. You know, he's got a personality it's got to help in terms of you trying to sell yourself on trying to get that ride. I think if you're just, when I'm gassing down south, said, I don't know, man, I don't know, you got any money? Because my mama don't got no money, and I came from a trailer. So what do you say?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way you could get away with that now.
No, and especially nowadays in IndyCar, with it being so expensive to be competitive, you look at the amount of money teams are spending. It's ridiculous. Yeah. So you need to have drivers that are A, quick in the car, and B...
Like, we're talking millions.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the budget of Penske, it's well over, I would say, for their 4 cars, it's well over $20 million.
The season's been very good for you so far. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, it has been good. So to give you kind of a let's start at the beginning of the history of Exclusive Autosport and I. So
okay.
In 2016, I finished second in USF 2000. I led the championship from the start all the way to the second last race. I got a flat tire. All I needed to do was finish in the top 10. I finished 12th.
Oof.
Because of a flat tire. Okay.
And I lost the championship. I went from winning 450,000 Canadian is the scholarship in USF 2000 to winning 10,000 at the banquet.
Oh my God.
And I at that time had promised all of my sponsors, most of them from Alberta, but all of them from Canada, promised them that year was my year, and if they gave me the money to go race, I would win the championship and I wouldn't be asking them for money again. Fast forward to 2017, I didn't have a ride. It was almost March, and I thought I was done racing. I seriously had hung my helmet up at that point, and I got a call 2 weeks before the season from Exclusive Autosport, who is a Canadian team racing in 1600. So that's a level below USF 2000.
Okay.
And they said they're moving to USF 2000. They're a Canadian team, and they were looking for a Canadian driver. Come down and test in Sebring with us. Went and tested in Sebring, and all of a sudden got signed for USF 2000 for my third year with Exclusive Autosport. We raced last year. Our first 2 wins were actually in Toronto.
Nice.
So, yeah, we got their maiden wins in home here on home soil, which was really emotional. That was an awesome weekend. We didn't win the championship, unfortunately, but I did enough of a performance for them to move me up to Pro Mazda. So this is our second consecutive year with the team. And it's, again, we moved up another category with them. So it's kind of cool history. So I'm in Pro Mazda. To take the history of it, we're winning the championship right now. It's been a pretty successful season. We've got the most wins out of anyone in the series, and hopefully we can capture a couple more here in Toronto.
So then, for those, including myself, that are relatively uninitiated to when you get to the different series as you move up. So the goal then eventually is to drive in what series? If we're looking at Parker Thompson in 7 years.
Hopefully IndyCar. I mean, that's the dream. That's the
so
Mazda road to Indy.
You don't want to be in Monaco with other models and the sexy people and smoking and supermodels and saying, "Oh, I don't like you."
You know what? I would honestly love to, and it's always been a dream of mine, Formula One. But if you look at Formula One, if you think IndyCar is expensive, Formula One is on an absolute different planet.
Like, it's a different universe. I understand.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. Now, if a sponsor came to me and said, "Hey, let's go to Formula One," I'm definitely not saying no. But a realistic goal with the way that Mazda has their scholarship set up, I can get to IndyCar by my talent alone, not by sponsorship.
Right.
If I win the championship this year, it's $1 million Canadian for me to move to Indy Lights. And that's $1 million that I didn't have last year.
So the next move up would be Indy Lights, or you're in Indy Lights?
So I'm in Pro Mazda,
right,
which is one step above USF 2000,
right,
one step below Indy Lights.
I gotcha.
So and the Indy Lights step, that next step is
IndyCar.
Yeah.
After Indy Lights. So if I win Pro Mazda, they grant you $1 million Canadian to move up into Indy Lights. If you win Indy Lights, they grant you almost 1.4 Canadian to move up to IndyCar.
Now, when you're talking about that kind of money, that money goes where? Like, people are listening going, "Well, that's great. Now he's going to get $1 million." But I'm pretty sure it's not a check for $1 million.
It's not. It's definitely not going to buy a house and a car.
You're going to Boston Pizza in Red Deer going, "Yeah, hello."
Trust me, I wouldn't be going to Boston Pizza if I had $1 million.
Because that money's going to get burned up pretty fast, I'm guessing, with all the commitments.
It does. I mean, you look at Indy Lights, it's a pretty competitive field. You can spend a lot of money trying to win there. But it does, I mean, the way they have it set up, they've worked hard with the teams to establish a budget that will win a championship. So it's enough money for you to compete.
So is there someone then that you looked at as a Canadian driver? I mean, you know, depending if you look at Villeneuve or whoever it could be, if you're looking at an influence of what you consider to be really successful Canadian driver, who is it?
Well,
for you,
I mean, if you look at the all-time win list, you've got Paul Tracy, who's leading the Canadians by a long shot.
Yes.
Right.
I always liked Paul for his fireness.
Yes.
I mean, when he wore the Nacho Libre mask.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So I think he's definitely someone I look up to. But unfortunately nowadays, you probably can't get away with the way that he marketed himself.
Right.
So you look at a guy like James Hinchcliffe. I mean, there's your kind of ultimate. It doesn't matter if you're Canadian or American, any nationality. I think James is probably leading the way for sponsorship activation and marketability. I mean, the guy's a genius off the track, and he can drive a car, which is really important.
Yeah.
You've got his teammate, Robert Wickens, who's soft-spoken but can drive a race car too. So those are two pretty good guys to look up to. But I think if you look back in the history, or if you ask any Canadian who their all-time favorite IndyCar driver is, I mean, Greg Moore's up there. He's
Greg Moore. Yeah.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah. I mean, he only had 6 wins, but at the same time, I think his likability, you know, he was such a good person. He would be the guy that would stay to the track till 10 p.m. signing kids' autographs and you know, really all about the fans. So
have you gotten a chance to talk to Paul or in this case James Hinchcliffe on who's actually going to be racing in this you know, not at the same time but in the same track sort of thing? Do you ever get a chance to converse with some of these guys?
Yeah, James is usually always pretty open.
Yeah.
I know at the start of the Barber Motorsports Park in Alabama, he came up to me at the start of the race. I was on pole, and he shook my hand and said good luck. So that's cool. I mean, those guys are always, I know how busy they are. I know how busy I am, so I can only imagine how busy they are on a race weekend, especially this weekend. And they're pretty open to talking. Paul, he's the reporter for NBC, so he's always around.
Yeah.
You know, he probably doesn't know exactly who I am, but we have the same initials.
He will.
So a lot of people call me the new PT.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so this weekend, we're sitting here on a Wednesday. What does it look like? Because I'm guessing this weekend mirrors a lot of other weekends for you when it comes to racing weekend. What happens on Thursday? What happens on Friday? Saturday, I think we know what happens, but take us through your schedule in a nutshell.
So this weekend is on steroids. So about
Right.
50% of my sponsorship comes from this one race alone, being Canadian, and this is our only Canadian race. So I've got media, tons of it.
Right.
I mean, I love these types of interviews because they're relaxed. The media I got to go do is, you know, a little bit more suit and tie.
It's
and
not in a bar.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think this is a lot of fun.
And not as good as us.
Exactly.
So
I get to enjoy
that.
myself
Yeah.
in this interview. The other
Right.
ones I really got to work for.
Yeah.
So really, the start of Thursday.
You probably get so as a young man. Are you a good driver?
Yeah. Where you guys ask the good
Yeah.
questions
Yeah.
that I can actually have fun with and work with a little. They're more, you know, how do you drive a race car? Well, they turn left and right. So starting Thursday is going to be a media frenzy.
Yeah.
We've got a track walk and a driver's meeting Thursday. So track walks are really important. A lot of people don't realize that race car drivers actually walk the tracks before they race them.
So what are you
to
looking
see the
for?
layout.
What are you looking for?
Well, they repaved this track. So I'm looking at all the different changes. I'll take my notepad and write different changes of what I see. The cool thing about street courses that are different from permanent race courses is they change every year. So every year it is a little bit different. I don't think people realize that. But if you move the concrete barrier a couple inches, we're going to notice it.
Right.
So we notice every change, and especially Toronto here with the great winters that we have in Canada.
Sure.
It changes the track every year just with frost heaves and the pavement changes.
So is that a concern more or less with the way in the, you know, when it comes to tire usage? Is it related to tires when you're talking about stuff like this?
Related to tires, but also more or less related to the car setup. So how high you can run the car, how low you can run the car. With the pavement change, we're probably going to be able to run the car lower. Running the car lower is going to give you more overall downforce. For those of you who don't know why you can run it lower, less bumps mean you can run the car lower. It's not hitting the ground all the time because you do not want to do that. So it's kind of interesting. So you'll walk with your engineer and you'll just notice different things that were different from last year. You'll write notes, and then that's our practice objective. We get one practice on Friday, one 30-minute practice. And all throughout practice, really, we're just going to be looking at how high we can run the car, what setup changes we can do to make the balance.
Kind of adjusting with what you took with the notes to what you feel in the car.
Exactly.
And mentally Okay. See, that makes a lot, because it's funny because you have to go through a process as a team to not only remember but reflect and write everything. It's almost like yesterday. We were at a golf course that I played last year at the same time. It was the second time I was there, but if somebody sat there and said, "Tell me about hole number 10," I'm like, I have no idea. I never studied it properly. I couldn't tell you if it was a short one, a long one, a dog leg right, left. But with you have to take that a little more serious as far as visualizing something, because you're not going to be here technically until next year, knock on wood. We're thinking you are, but we don't want to go too far ahead. But it's one of those things where every track is different, every turn is different, and the obstacles that appear on the track is something you have to take note of.
100%. And that's kind of, I think, it goes with, now I've been on tour with the Mazda Indy for a couple years. You start going through the motions of, okay, you start remembering just even the gear changes. Like I could tell you right off bat, I haven't even looked at the data yet, but I could tell you what gears in every corner. I could tell you the lines. So if you played that course, let's say every year at the same time, you'd probably start to realize, okay, this is the dog leg left, and that's kind of race car drivers. It's a big circus. Every race weekend, we're moving somewhere else, and then you switch gears and you're focused on that track. And
I think another learning tool could be watching Days of Thunder with Tom Cruise, because I thought that was a very realistic portrayal.
I really hope my race team treats me like they treated him if we win. I'd really like a race hauler memory on the highway.
Any NASCAR guy you can say, "Hey, have you ever seen Days of Thunder?" I'm telling you right now, just run. Like, get ready. Don't hang around. Don't bring it up. So it's all bad news. Well, it's things that people might want to know that are very simple things for those sort of listening to you uninitiated for the first time. Depending on, again, how high you're gonna or low you're gonna run your car, depending on what that setup's going to be, generally in a straightaway where you can open it up, what kinds of speeds are we talking about here?
So we're talking about 160, 170 miles per hour. I mean, every track, we're well over 200 kilometers an hour. Right. So I would say at the Toronto Indy, we're probably going to hit 260, 270 kilometers.
Wow.
Ish, ballpark.
Devin, do you?
250.
Devin's been saying he does that all the time in the back roads.
Yeah,
That's the Devin right there.
What is interesting is a lot of people don't realize this. So this little Mazda 2-liter is what we have in our engine, for our engine. It produces 300 horsepower naturally, so no turbos, no superchargers.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
All natural. But what people don't realize is our top speeds are actually pretty close to IndyCar, and they're pretty close to Indy Lights. It's just how we get there. Mm-hmm. It's the difference of acceleration. But once we get there, the speeds are actually quite similar going down Lakeshore Drive.
Got a couple questions for you. So your car number 90?
Yes.
What's the reason for 90?
It's a good question. When I signed with the team, so teams actually, and this goes true for IndyCar, teams have to buy their numbers.
Oh, okay.
Same with NASCAR, any motorsport.
Okay, I didn't realize that either.
Teams buy their numbers, and believe it or not, the numbers are really expensive. So Exclusive Autosport has had number 90. That's kind of been their trademark number for years now, for the decade that the team's been running. So they bought that number from the Mazda Road to Indy, and when they signed, they asked me what number I wanted from 90 to 100. And I said, well, 90 seems pretty good. I've always liked the number 9. So growing up in hockey, when I played hockey, I was always number 9.
Right.
So I thought, you know what, put a 0 behind it and call it a day.
Bingo.
But not 99. Like, in Red Deer, so you got a choice.
I didn't want to do the
north?
Gretzky thing.
I was gonna say,
So Oilers or Flames?
Oh, family rivalry in the Thompson household.
Ooh, really?
Yes, mom's side all Calgary Flames, dad's side all Edmonton Oilers.
Wow.
Really?
And it's heated, really heated.
But I've heard that in Red Deer because that's kind of the dividing line.
I mean,
split.
literally, if you timed it, an hour and a half to Calgary, an hour and a half to Edmonton. Exactly. You couldn't get more in the middle.
Yeah.
I would have to say I was always an Oilers fan as a kid growing up.
I just say that hurts me a little bit. I mean, we were getting along so well.
I know.
Friends.
I didn't want to say it, but I will say I'm a closet Oilers fan because we've had a couple tough seasons.
Yeah, it's like,
even with the best draft picks,
we're gonna win the cup. No, you're not.
No.
Apparently. Well, they got to be better this year. I mean, even just by virtue of going through another season, I mean, they have to be better, don't they?
You would think, but you know what? I mean, knock on wood just saying that because it's been tough. So they've got that brand new, I don't know if you've ever been, the Rogers, I can't even remember the name of it, but it's their Ice Palace.
Okay.
And it's their brand new arena.
The practice facility and the new arena they have downtown.
Yeah. And if
Rogers
you guys
Place,
ever get a chance to go to it, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah. So it's too bad that, they moved from the old Rexall place, which was, a lot of history in there.
Yep.
Tons.
And they moved to this new place, and we still can't get the team going. I don't know what's going on. But.
And what's with the rabbit on the side of your helmet? Because my my 5 and 2-year-old daughters would love this. They'd be looking at this, and then they notice this rabbit here, and they'd be like, "That would be the coolest part of it."
That is so funny. I'll have to get to know you guys better.
Doesn't have to do with the Pilsner thing, does it? Finding the rabbit?
No,
that
it doesn't
one?
have to do with the Pilsner thing.
Okay.
It's a little team inside joke.
We'll approach that next time.
Yeah, we'll talk about it off
When you
air.
look at it, you see all these cool things, and then Thompson, you got your name on it, of course, or a nickname. A lot of guys will have it on the back or the front, the number, and then this is rabbit. But we'll get to the rabbit at another time.
Yeah, I bet you it's disturbing. I bet you it's really disturbing. I can tell you it's not a good story.
Well, I think it's probably
when people
a really
go,
good story,
maybe we'll talk about that later. Bad story. Terrible story.
It's funny you mentioned that.
Yeah.
That's too good.
Because now there's going to be rabbit people going, why? Why's he got a rabbit on there? What do they do to the rabbits? They don't do anything. Well, maybe they do. I don't know.
It's that bunny on your lawnmower.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Look, there's a lot of, and there's downtime for these guys. You don't want to know. I think you just probably don't want to know.
I have a house full of bunnies, puppies, kittens.
Okay.
So the girls love. So as soon as I saw that, boom, it means something else. It's not what I think. Okay. Anyway.
Well, thank you so much for coming. It's been a real pleasure. Like, I mean, I'm a fan now. I mean, I think that generally, I mean, you talked about, the challenges in trying to do this for a living, and a lot of it has to do with saleability and what people like. And I don't know how anyone would not like this guy.
No,
I have no idea how.
Like, honestly, how old are you?
It's 20.
See, because he comes across as a guy that could be in his mid-30s the way he speaks.
Yeah, but also if he comes into a bar, I'm carding him.
Well, yeah, that's.
He's
fair.
saying I'm 20. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
no, that's
I look
fine.
15.
No. It's good to be carded. Trust me. It's coming from me. Yes, it's very good to be carded. No, but you have yourself. You present yourself well, and there's an energy about you.
And a maturity. There's a real maturity to it.
We've been on this show now because we're the former TSN morning show.
Yes.
Now we're doing this for about a year and a bit now. We've had everybody from the highest celebrity of the NHL, former NHLers, to politicians, to musicians, and honestly, you not only fit into that group, but probably exceed a lot of the people that we talk to today.
I agree.
In our time.
I agree.
It's just a compliment to you.
Well, thank you very much, guys.
You're going to have a very bright future, which is why I'm going to say this now. So when good stuff happens, supermodels, actresses, singers, girls like, I don't know, Taylor Swift or whatever's going to happen for you. Who knows? Or maybe the Justin Bieber of car racing at some point. Who knows? But
the cool version.
Yeah, but we want to know everything.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
We will we'll hit up this bar right here.
There you go.
And guess what? That bunny story, it's coming out.
Yes.
One way or the other. We're getting that bunny story. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mike.
So awesome to meet
Dave.
you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you guys having me on the show. And if you guys ever need tickets to the races, you let me know.
See, this is what I'm talking about.
Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Yeah, best of luck. We know who we're cheering for, and that, of course, is Parker Thompson.
Number 90.
Appreciate it.
Number 90 with the bunny on the side of the helmet. And don't ask. So before he leaves, we're just going to show exactly what I guess. Here's something. I guess the camera is taken from your perspective of driving.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we're going to hear the whir of the engine, and you just take a look at this thing. I know exactly what's going to go on.
Yeah, inside the car.
Inside the car, but you're going to look at it and be going, oh yeah, I got PlayStation, or I got Xbox One.
Yeah, no, this is real.
No, this is real. So when you're going 270 clicks,
you don't get a second man.
You don't go, oh, okay, mom, not now. No, this is the real deal.
Can't press pause.
Yeah. I bet you
Or
would.
reset.
Yeah, or
When you make a
reset.
whoopsie.
Yeah. How many lives do you get? Yeah, this one. So that's what you're doing. Let's take a look. Here's some of the work with Parker Thompson.
There he is on the straightaway. Such excellent acceleration. Looking for the inside-outside move, and there he goes. What a chance. And he does go by him. Tremendous lap. Parker Thompson, Pro Mazda. And there's Mike Richards, his coach, surrounded by a bevy of beautiful girls. There's the Olsen twins. Maybe I shouldn't say that out loud. The Olsen twins, I don't believe, are prized at this point, at this juncture in time. There was a time when they were quite hot, but now they've had some personal issues. I believe one of them doesn't eat that much, and the other one's on drugs. So there we go. There's Parker Thompson. Wonderful job. Look at that. That guy was awesome. I mean, I didn't know what to expect, but that far exceeded my expectations. I thought he was unbelievable.
He was unreal. I meant everything I said about it too, because we have had countless guests from many different walks of occupation, life, place, everything. This guy. That's why I had to ask him, how old are you, dude? Like, yeah. you're
speaking at a commencement. You mean you're in the commencement?
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So no awkward moments, but I do have to show you this. So we played a deleted scene from Caddyshack, which was, I'd never seen it before. I didn't realize it existed. This is cool in all the wrong ways. The woman doing this interview, this is from Dangerfields. So Rodney, right, he had his own place in Manhattan.
Yep.
His own club called Dangerfields. So you've got Chevy Chase, Rodney Dangerfield, Ted Knight, and Bill Murray are all sitting in this interview, and this woman is unbelievably bad. Everything she asks is an awkward question. I don't know how these guys got through it. So this is I don't know what you call it, worst interview ever with some of the most talented guys on one stage, and this is completely cringeworthy. But if you're a Caddyshack fan, it's tough to take your eyes off this thing.
Get to be pro at Needles, California. And Rodney, you're nice enough to have us here at this place of yours called Rodney Dangerfields in Manhattan. And I finally figured out why you get no respect.
Really?
Anybody who runs around dressed like you do in Caddyshack, what do you expect?
Well, that's what they told me to wear, you know. I look like a
great question.
The type of guy you want to avoid, I guess, huh? But
you smell like him.
I smell like him, but then I'll keep you company.
That's all right. You can hold hands.
You're lucky I'm out on parole, okay?
We do it often.
What are you asking me, my dear?
Yes. Where do you get clothes like that?
Clothes like that? There are people wearing them. There's these guys around.
How would you? It's a movie. It's a movie, you dumb.
These loud clothes. That's the part I played of a fellow who was a loud ignoramus who invades a nice, sensitive country club and has a clash with that gentleman over there. We don't see eye to eye in many things, and we still don't talk. No, but it was fun doing the movie. Everyone liked it, and I'm happy, and it came out real good, you know.
Well, I must say that, you know, the way you're dressed today, you'll get more respect.
Well, clothes are not my thing. You know, people spend $20 for a haircut. Inside their head, they're idiots. You know what I mean? So you don't know where they're at. I mean, I can't get this deep now. It's too early for this, right? But clothes are not my thing. I know the whole country is fashion conscious. I know, but I was never into clothes, and that's the way I am. And Bill is into clothes.
Now, Bill is the one. Bill Murray plays Carl in Caddyshack, and he has one outfit that by now I'm sure they've had to bury it someplace.
Yeah.
What's with the clothes?
Washing it a long time ago. They tried to wash it for several days, and it never came clean. I did burn some of the things on the way up as a signal fire to boats coming over from Havana, of course, but it was a grim outfit, and I'm glad it's on film because they couldn't have kept it in any museum. I don't think.
But the really bad thing for you, Bill, I don't know, do you know? The SPCA is looking for you. They really are.
Yes.
Oh, my, can you believe this? They got this person, the SPCA.
I think it's, I know it's, people say, oh, Bill, it's bad for your image, you know, but I think everyone has a killing side to them, and I think it's important that, you know, I show that everyone, any one of us at any time is potentially capable of killing a gopher.
Why did you kill the swan, Bill, off the set?
I was in character. That's one of the...
I know you study.
Those method actors, you know, they'll do it every time. And here is Ted Knight looking, so wonderful and so proper and prestigious and all. And you're really a son of a gun in that movie.
A phony.
You're a judge, and yet you're saying the worst things about, certain people shouldn't belong to the country club.
Well, it's true. From Judge Smale's standpoint, that is. He's a traditionalist, and it's a well-defined character. Harold is one of the things that induced me to playing the part was the brilliancy of the writing by Harold Ramis and Brian Doyle Murray,
and Doug Kenny.
Doug Kenny gave me an opportunity to play another color, away from the Baxter type of thing I've been doing for so many years. And
see, this is just dying.
Really enjoyable time working with these three extremely gifted comedians. It's another inducement that I had. And the third and most important inducement was the lack of money, because I've been looking for a tax write-off, and I achieved that, making this picture.
Well, Mary Tyler Moore told me to tell you she never heard of you. She saw the movie and the way you
Who's
act
that?
in the movie. Right. Mary who? Mary who?
Have you seen Mary recently?
No, I just made that up.
Oh, okay, we'll stop the pain. Isn't that? Can you believe that? How bad that was? Can you would have had the chance to have at this time Chevy Chase, Bill Murray, Rodney Dangerfield, and Ted Knight,
Hall of Famers,
and there's like, well, Mary Tyler, where's that? Okay, so we'll leave on because CFL this weekend. I have not taken a look at the games, by the way, yet.
No, really, no.
I haven't.
Friday night Bombers in BC, which usually means I won't be able to stay up the entire time.
Yeah, but load up on Bombers. Load up on Bombers, depending on what that number is. Here is a little look as we've played some sort of throwback stuff during the American era of CFL. I don't recall seeing this, but this is pretty incredible footage. It's going to be Gord Miller, but get a load of. No, the Baltimore Stadium, was it Memorial Field?
Yeah, I think it was Memorial Stadium, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Get a load of the names. This is during a CFL game when they came up with the brilliant Baltimore CFLers. But they here's again as they bring some of the greatest players that ever played in Baltimore onto the field during a CFL game. This is pretty bizarre. I'd not seen this before. Look at the stadium.
Welcome back to Baltimore and the CFL Live Halftime Report. The Argos in Baltimore are the showcase for the first half, but now at halftime, a very special evening here in Baltimore. This stadium has been home to some great athletes over the years, of course, for the old NFL Colts and the Baltimore Orioles. And throughout this season, Baltimore will honor players from both clubs. And right now, they're honoring three of them right now. Art Donovan a moment ago. Now, Lenny Moore, the great running back for the Colts.
On behalf of my family, to keep the tradition alive, my wife, my brothers and sisters, my friends, and all of you, thank you so very much.
Lenny Moore, ladies and gentlemen. Our third inductee is simply the greatest quarterback of all time. In 17 seasons with the Colts, he established 22 team records and 8 NFL records. He was the first quarterback to throw for over 40,000 yards. He led the league in TD passes 4 straight years. His 47-game stretch with at least 1 touchdown pass will last forever. The records keep coming, huh? He was the NFL most valuable player 3 times, All-Pro 6 times, and he played in 10 Pro Bowls, and he quarterbacked the Colts to 3 World Championships, and on July 28, 1979, was inducted into the Hall of Fame. He is the Golden Arm John Unitas.
That is remarkable, Dave.
John, congratulations.
Just during a CFL game, I've not seen this. Some will still argue the best quarterback who ever played the game.
Thank you very much.
Look at that.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for me to be here after a long absence, football is back in Baltimore. We thank Jim Spiros for that. And we also thank you fans. You're the one who receives the credit for supporting the team, and hopefully will be successful throughout the years. My congratulations to Jim and to all of you. Thanks for your support over the years. Appreciate it.
John, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the first...
Isn't that crazy?
He used to have a crew cut before those pictures that you could set your watch to.
Everybody. It just like in Saskatchewan, after a while, everyone had Ron Lancaster's hairstyle. Johnny Nice the same way. That was so cool to see that. Which is why when, maybe if you're seeing it for the first time, of an age group where you're like, when was the CFL ever in the U.S.? There it was. Not always the disaster people wanted to make it out to be. And, of course, a year later, they win the Grey Cup.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Would like very much to thank Parker Thompson from Pro Mazda as he attempts to move up to Indy Lights. He races this weekend at the Honda Indy. He was fantastic. I can't tell how thrilled Dave and I were to have him. And also, congratulations to Jay Barker, Aiden's Drive. What did he say? $120,000 for the cause. Have yourself a great day.